Well, it's the start of the new year, which means it is time to look back on the anime I watched last year and give some of my favorite titles. As with most of these, I don't do ranked lists. I find it difficult doing the whole ranking stuff. It's not actually that useful. So it's just going to be a list. I'm going to limit myself to 8 titles overall, though. Nuki Taishi. Of all the shows I watched in this past year, Nuki Taishi is the one that I can show the least of, by which I mean I'm not going to try showing it at all. Because this is a show that is an adaptation of an eroge that, due to the nature of the work that it is adapting, it has to unavoidably lead into the first half of that term, the ero part. However, that's okay, because Nuki Taishi is an eroge that also served as a leftist satire of the policies of the late, not necessarily lamented Shinzo Abe, particularly the pressure he put on people to have kids without understanding why people might not want to have kids in Japanese society, with the lack of work-life balance in various aspects of the work environment, economic issues, and so on. Also, the way that those policies were very heteronormative in a homophobic and body-negative way. Now, as I mentioned in my written review on the blog, which I'll drop a link to in the show notes, there is a history in Japan of putting leftist social commentary in works that were frankly smut, like in Pinky films. So I'm glad to see this carrying on in anime, and also eroge, with shows that are willing to be more explicit, even if it's just at a kind of Skinamax level. The show still has some issues with how it executes its concepts. It could commit to the bit more when it comes to taking on body shaming. It doesn't get into the exoticization of people who are not ethnically Japanese. It only really gives lip service to criticizing the condemnation of LGBT people by the Abe government, something that's unfortunately going to continue with a even more conservative prime minister from the LDP and their coalition government with the Ishin Party, so I suspect that part's going to remain topical. I would be interested to see if the second game is adapted as well, as there's a lot of the game's plot that hasn't been covered yet, and other routes and like how they expand on the narrative. From my perusing a few wiki sites and TV tropes and that sort of thing, it sounds like the second game has a trans character, so that would be wonderful if we had a second game that introduced that character and their narrative. That would be great. Rock is a Lady's Modesty. Rock is a Lady's Modesty is part of a small trend this year, which actually probably started the year before with Yakuza Fiancé, of shows about Ojo-sama's behaving badly. In this case, it's a high school girl from a more general background, normal person background, whose mom married into a wealthy family after something happened to her father, leading to her going to a posh private high school, but also having to leave behind her true love, rock music. Except when she discovers an outlet to express herself through rock, first in private with a classmate, and then forming a band, and she leaps at an opportunity to do this because it allows her to let out her stress and frustrations at the repressed social society of the school and the way that they impose very emotionally restrictive gender roles for women, not just in terms of how you can express yourself, but also in terms of what you are supposed to do in society and how you're supposed to put yourself secondary to the interests of your family, often the men in your family, and also because it provides a form of artistic expression as well. Now, may I ask for one final thing, which aired in the fall 2025 season, was also part of the small trend, but I think Rock is a Lady's Modesty did it better. Hopefully, we'll get more series that use this idea in various frameworks in the years to come. Ruri Rocks. I have to admit, I was predisposed to liking Ruri Rocks when I saw it on the seasonal anime charts. My dad is a geologist. On the family trips to the Oregon coast on summer vacation, and other times of the year, often included having bits of roadside geology pointed out along the way. Also, we have a copy of the Roadside Geology of Oregon, which I occasionally would look over and would get brought up once again when we're doing trips throughout the Willamette Valley and off to the coast. So when I saw there was an explainer anime with cute girls doing cute thing elements coming out this year about geology, I had to give it a shot. It looked great and felt right in terms of how the information that was presented and how it was presented. Enough so that when there was a open spot in our weekend anime watching, I decided to put the show on for my dad to see if he liked it. And it got his badge of approval as well, even if he found the frequency of these particularly spectacular geological features near this one town to be a bit much. In short, this is a show where the characters were enjoyable to watch, which was animated gorgeously and got its facts right. For an educational anime, I can't ask for much more than that. My Dress Up Darling Season 2. There are 3 returning series on my list for this year. My Dress Up Darling Season 2 is one of those shows. The animation took a big step up from last season, and the development of Gojo and Marin's relationship took a bunch more steps. We also had the involvement of more characters in the larger cosplay scene, even if the larger hobby of cosplay isn't the same focus here as it is in, say, 2.5-dimensional seduction. Still, what keeps me coming back is the characters in the series and how they build off of each other, in addition to the excellent animation and the way that this series just nails all of that. It sounds like there's enough manga left for at least a finale movie, if not a short ONA, so I look forward to whatever comes, because I love to see more of the relationship between Gojo and Marin. Apothecary Diaries Season 2. Apothecary Diaries has been my go-to mystery series, the way I used to watch Cadfael or Poirot on PBS when I was younger, with palace intrigue and drama, do go with the Cadfael comparison, taking the place of the slow simmer of war between King Stephen and the Empress Maud that lay in the background and occasionally foreground in Ellis Peters' novels and the television series. The second season continues to develop that palace intrigue while also giving us more great character beats between Mao Mao and Jinshi, leading to the big reveal about a certain amphibian partway through the season. Again, I'm looking forward to Season 3 and the movie whenever those come out. Zenshu. I'd stepped away from isekai for a while before this year, before getting drawn back through Zenshu. In particular, this was a series that did frame its story through the lit RPG trappings that so many other isekai anime do. Instead, Zenshu dropped animation director Natsuko into a setting that seemed reminiscent of classic anime like The Drifting Continent and Windaria, especially Windaria. The series goes on to provide numerous shoutouts and tributes to classic work of animation, while also doing a heartfelt, introspective, and thoughtful look at the concept of, well, the fic, what leads people to create them, and why they're not a bad thing. Through Natsuko's interactions from the characters from the work that inspired her to become an animator, and she gets the chance to know them and view them as people rather than just characters in a fictional work, and how we as viewers become attached to characters in the work, and why we get that sense of connection to them, and in turn why we might be inspired to write our own do-over, to use the English translation of what the Japanese title means, to get things to go out in a way that perhaps is fairer to the characters in the work. City, the animation. Nichijou was an anime that got me through some really tough times, particularly through the Oregon wildfires during the pandemic, so getting another anime adaptation of a manga from the same creator was something that I was looking forward to, particularly from the same animation studio that did Nichijou. I really appreciated what I got out of this. It was a show that was more manic, more out there, and more surreal in a lot of respects than Nichijou was, but still felt heartfelt and personal, with a lot of sweet little character interaction moments between the moments of excessive absurdity, and all of it gorgeously animated. My Hero Academia final season. When I read the conclusion of the My Hero Academia manga, I did so with the full knowledge that this was going to get a complete adaptation as an anime, and I wondered how the finale would pan out. I was not disappointed. While I'd seen all of this on the page in Shonen Jump, I knew what the character beats were going to be. I knew what the emotional moments and plot developments were, but seeing it in advance, but seeing it in motion and getting vocal performances for these characters had a very different weight than just reading it on the page. particularly since the climax of this anime, while the show does have plenty of shouting and punching that you expect from a big shonen fight anime, is a climax that's about talking and showing empathy, and the performances really bear that out, along with the animation to give the character beats to give it the oomph that it needs to emotionally resonate with the audience. I have enjoyed the ride that I've taken through My Hero Academia. I'm glad I still get to experience this world through My Hero Academia Vigilantes while that anime is airing as well. But I'm glad to see that the ending of the story for Deku and Class 1A was satisfying, at least to me. Those were my 8 picks, sticking with shows that I watched. Again, in no particular order based on when it came out or anything like that. Let me know in the comments below what shows that you watched, and what shows in the past year that you liked that I didn't make my list, that maybe I didn't get to, so I can add them to my to-watch list. I'll drop a link to my anime list profile in the show notes as well, so you can take a look and see what shows I did watch last year, and let me know what you thought. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe, and also consider backing my Patreon. Patreon backers get episodes up to 1 week early of this show and any future Let's Plays. Also, please consider backing my Ko-fi. Tossing me a few bucks also helps support the show, and it's not a monthly obligation or anything like that.